JAX. Here's a little well-known secret. Sure as there's a sky above.
Nothing could be any sweeter
Than dancing with the one you love. When life is like a sour note, here's a happy antidote. Come to where the party never ends, 'cause everybody's jumping at JAX.
Everybody, welcome to Campus JAX. Thursday nights, it's what we call Steamers Jazz at JAX, where we continue the tradition of the great Steamers Jazz Club that used to be up in Fullerton with Terence Love. And he and Terence and Tony Guerrero have kind of just surrounded us here at Campus JAX for these last, about 7 years now, since 2018 with incredible jazz. We're so blessed to have amazing musicians that grace this stage right here, and then for a few years out there in the tent in the parking lot during the pandemic. You know, the artists that have played here, the jazz musicians, represent over 200 Grammys. We launched our own label, METAJAX, back during the pandemic, and we've got, I guess, 6 projects we've released, and the most recent one is our second project with Arturo Sandoval. Our first one got a Grammy nomination in 2023, and so I don't know if you're a member of the Academy, if you're watching and a member of the Academy, hey, check out My Foolish Heart with Arturo Sandoval, because it'll be coming back around this summer, and we'd appreciate any support you might have there on that project. But so legends aren't unique to this stage right here. And tonight is one of, I'm excited about it because it's a very unique, special show because it's a kind of, I guess we could say, I'm expecting like a behind-the-scenes look, an inside story of a 20th century treasure, American icon, right? The great Buddy Ebsen. Now, as told by his daughter, Kiki. And so I haven't seen this show. Have any of you seen this already? Nice. So we're all going to be surprised together. Now you'll notice at the back, first of all, Kiki comes bearing gifts. Everybody here tonight gets to take home one of her CDs, which is basically, I think it's more or less this show. The CD is what this show is based around, is the music on that CD, Great American Songbook. And she also has Buddy's autobiography available. And so it's at the back as well. And I would encourage you to, pick up both. But without further ado, here we have over here on sax and woodwinds, playing it all tonight, Tom LUER. Welcome, Tom. On drums, KENDALL KAY. Playing the bass, we welcome back Chris COLANGELO. And on the piano keyboards here, the fine Kiki Yamaha Special, we got Jeff COLELLA. So they're going to get things started, and then Kiki will join in a couple minutes. But anyway, would you welcome them?
Nicely done. Good job.
Missing you when shadows fall, missing you now most of all, remembering the magic of your lips so tender. I was such a fool to lose their sweet surrender. Missing you the whole day through. Every thought of you till you come back to me. Each evening I will be here, missing you, I'm missing you, my dear. Missing you all day through. Every thought of you till you come back to me. Each evening I will be here. Missing you, I'm missing you, my dear.
Thank you very much. Oh, gosh. Thank you so much for coming out tonight for our Father's Day show, a tribute to my dad, Buddy Ebsen. it's just such a privilege to be able to share these stories with you through song and through our multimedia show, and it's just really exciting for me, and so thank you. It's a gift for you all to be here tonight. My dad, you know, he grew up in the era of the great American songbook. I grew up in the era of Black Sabbath. My dad loved the music of Gershwin and Cole Porter and Rodgers and Hart. I love the music of Led Zeppelin, and Kiss, and Aerosmith. So we didn't always see eye to eye musically. In high school, my dad offered me singing lessons with the great Joe Stafford. And I said, "Who's he?" "I'm going to go listen to my new favorite singer, Alice Cooper." And he goes, "Who's she?" These are really true dialogues that we used to have, like real disconnect. But, so a little more about my dad. He was married 3 times. First to Ruth Cambridge, there he is with Shirley Temple. So that's back in the 30s. His first wife worked for Walter Winchell, the great columnist. Then he married my mother, Nancy Wolcott, and they were married for 38 years. They met in the Coast Guard. And then finally, later in life, he married Dorothy Knott, and he had a lovely, the last couple of decades of his life with her. Let's go back to my mom for a second. We grew up down here, spent a lot of time here in the Newport Beach area. In fact, my mother was a Vassar graduate in theater. She had the Newport Harbor Actors Theater, if you remember that. It was just off of Bristol. She was taught theater at Cal State Fullerton, and she also worked at South Coast Rep. So she had a real presence here, and she was a real presence. She was a real firecracker, I'll tell you that right now. There, look at her, she's riding a camel. That's where she took me for my high school graduation. She took me to Egypt. She was a rascal, I have to say. Our family, we had it was music everywhere. Music and drama, and we had drama and more drama. No. It was just a very artistic lifestyle. But then sometimes, because you had 2 actors, well, actually a few actors in the family, because my sister was an actress, acting was the family business. And if we didn't, get into character or into our role, we really weren't quite gonna make it. Maybe you might not get our dinner that night. We had to audition for the food, right? Auditioning for passing the butter. You couldn't just say, "Hey, pass the butter." It'd have to be "Please be passing the butter then," and you throw an accent on it or some intention. So acting, I wasn't really drawn to it. Maybe it was because my sister Bonnie told me that if I became an actress, she would kill me. And she does look like somebody who might kill me, so I took her seriously. And went into music, and it was a lot safer, a lot less crowded. And the fact that my parents gave me books like this kind of inspired me, I know, with the little dog. So there's my band in high school. We played the Starwood, the Whiskey, the Troubadour. I even made it onto the set of Back to the Future as an extra. It's kind of cool. And then I recorded 9 records of my own. You love the hair.
Kiki Ebsen.
Oh, don't you miss the 80s? Oh, crazy hair. And I went on the road touring with a lot of acts. I went out with Chicago and Al Jarreau and Christopher Cross and Tracy Chapman and so many great bands. And for the next 25, 30 years, I had a pretty great career in music. But I always felt like my dad still did not understand, all of the, who I was playing with. He didn't relate to it. It wasn't his genre at all. And I didn't really feel like he saw me, like he really understood me. So it was a disconnect for a long time. And then, after he passed away, I found a trunk in our family's home in the attic. Now, it wasn't just any old trunk. This trunk was filled with memorabilia. Oh yes, here we go. From my dad's career long before I was born. Now, I knew my dad was an old vaudevillian and he performed in the 30s, but by the time I was born, he was 50. He had already started doing the hillbillies, and I was like, okay, that's like old people stuff, right? Had no clue how amazing that was. You know, he would sit us down when we were kids and say,
Kiki, I went to New York City with $26.65 in my pocket, and you kids will never know what it...
and we're like, you're right, we will not ever know what that's like, because we're already spoiled and entitled, living in Newport Beach. But anyway, I looked through this, this trunk, and I found all these incredible letters that he wrote back to his family back in the 20s and 30s when he had moved to New York. And there were scripts like Born to Dance. And these are the real scripts, by the way. I brought the real stuff. This is his script from Born to Dance. It says, please return to the prop department. Oh, we're in trouble. I hope there's no late fee on that. So letters and photographs and newspaper articles. And then I found his songbook from The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz? You didn't tell me you were in The Wizard of Oz. They left that part out. Had no idea. So I realized there was a lot to know about this man, and that if I was going to have him know me better, I was going to have to get to know him better. And to do that, I was going to have to go back, way, way back. Back to a little town in Belleville, Illinois, where a boy was born on April 2nd, 1908, to a German mother and a Danish father. There's my dad, a little boy with 4 sisters. His father, Christian Ebsen Sr., was the local dance instructor and also had a swimming school where all the neighborhood kids would hang out. My dad spent a lot of time at this natatorium learning to swim. He was a competitive swimmer for a while, but he also started to learn to dance. And one of his favorite dance partners was his sister Vilma. And together, they developed an act that was quite popular on the Florida. Actually, they'd moved to Florida by that time because of his mother's health. So in Florida, they became big-time, big-time local heroes, I guess, and dancing at private parties. And even Arthur Murray hired them to dance at his parties when they were just 13 years old. That's pretty incredible. So there's my dad, 4th one in from the left, 6 foot 3.5 inches tall, 6 feet 3.5 inches. Pretty long and lanky guy. So originally, Dad wanted to be a doctor, and he enrolled in Rollins College for 2 years. His sister had epilepsy, one of his sisters, and he wanted to find a cure. But unfortunately, the crash of the Florida land boom devastated the family finances, and he was forced to drop out. It was there he decided he was going to go to New York City
with $26.65 in his pocket
to do the only other thing that he knew how to do, dance. Well, he was hired and he was fired in the first week. Why? Because he was just too tall. He struggled that first year, almost froze to death, didn't have a warm enough jacket, you know, and the winds off the Hudson River were just chilling him to the bone. But eventually, by spring, he had had enough jobs that he could send for his sister Velma, and they resumed the dance act. They studied with top choreographers, and together they starred in Whoopee, Flying Colors, and Future Stars of Broadway. They were dubbed by Walter Winchell the Baby Astairs, and they were rapidly becoming the toast of Broadway. Now in 1935, MGM came scouting talent in New York, brought the team out to Hollywood to film the Broadway Melody of 1936. I think we have a cut from that. It was one of their dance routines. It's called Sing Before Breakfast.
You gotta sing before breakfast, croon a tune and rejoice. Before you use that coffee pot, use your voice. The whole world may seem funny, but it is good enough. If you run out of money, honey, put it on the cafe and sing. Before breakfast, never cry a thing. Before you eat that shredded wheat, sing, just sing, and sing, and sing, and sing, and sing.
Did you see that shoe hit him in the face? I would have asked him how many times they had to shoot that scene. Oh, gosh. Ouch. Well, they were now, like, really heroes back in Florida. But of course, the studio eventually decided to split the team up. They had too many female dancers, and they wanted Dad as a solo artist. So Vilma went on to start the Ebsen School of Dance in the Pacific Palisades, teaching a whole new generation to dance, including my family. And from what I understand, Robbie Krieger from The Doors took tap dancing there. Yeah, really, he told me, he said, hey, you know, I took tap dancing from your aunt. And I went, oh, you and a million other people. Those are my sisters. So Dad, his dance card did not remain empty for long. The team of MGM's, they set him up with, oh gosh, Judy Garland. She was 13 in that photo. There's Eleanor Powell and George Murphy. Barbara Stanwyck, very young Barbara Stanwyck. Shirley Temple and Captain January, so cute, 6 years old. Oh, and there's Frances Langford in a show called Born to Dance. As you can see, Dad is becoming very easy to love.
You'd think you'd be so easy to love, so easy to idolize, and all others above. You'd be so worth the yearning for, and honey, you'd be so swell to keep every little home fire burning for.
And we'd be so grand at the game, so carefree together that it does seem a shame that you can't see your future with me, 'cause you'd be so easy to love. And we'd be so grand at the game, so carefree together that it does seem a shame that you can't see your future with me, 'cause you'd be so easy, so easy, so easy, easy to love. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shirley Temple. Well, we were just talking about her, weren't we? One of the most precious finds, I actually have it right here, is a letter that my dad wrote to his family about working with Shirley Temple. And he, you know, they were doing this, the movie Captain January. And when he wrote back to his parents, he was very excited about this young 6-year-old. She was very talented, very well-behaved, very polite. He called her a little clip, which I don't know what that actually means, but maybe a little a firecracker, perhaps. Brilliant off stage as she is on. She's well behaved, unspoilt, but definitely a little clip. I'll have to look that up. She likes her mother, jokes, and loves her rabbits. So she had, I guess, a couple of rabbits when they started the production, and then by the end of it, it was like 97 rabbits. And I think all she really wanted was for her and her mother to buy a ranch and have a bunch of rabbits. So, my dad had the job of choreographing that dance scene, which is incredible. It's set on the docks of Maine, and there's lots of obstacles and barrels and netting and things they'd have to navigate dancing. And my dad just wanted Shirley to come and rehearse the bit because he was a little nervous because they were going to call it any day at the producers. But Shirley Temple's way too busy, right? She's got, 4 a.m. call, she's got to study, she's got to film, and she's like, I can't come and rehearse with you. And he says, please just come for like 15 minutes, So, okay, she does. She comes to the studio by limousine with her second director with her, sits down. She looks at my dad. You can just imagine the dimples, right? She goes, is it set? And meaning, is it finished? And my dad stutters, goes, well, no, we might make a few changes. She gets up from her chair, walks out the door, turns around and says, call me when it's set, and I'll come back and learn it. Yeah, he was wow. But then he realized, what? She didn't have time to learn a dance that she was going to have to relearn. She was just being realistic, right? And efficient, I might say, for a little 6-year-old. So, true to her word, when he finished the dance, she came back, and in 1 hour, she learned this dance.
Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea. We'll join in the jamboree at the cottage ball. Lobsters dancing in a row, shuffle off to Buffalo. Jellyfish sway to and fro at the cottage ball. Finn and Hattie lead the eel through an Irish field. The catfish is a dancing man, but he can't, like the sardine can. There's trucking left and right, Minnie's mooching, what a night. There won't be a hook in sight at the codfish ball.
That amazing. I think my dad mentions in his book about how the 20th century executives were off, like just off camera, you know, as he would like lift Shirley Temple up, their multi-million-dollar asset. If you drop her, you will never work in this town again. No pressure.
Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea. We'll join in the jamboree at the Codfish Ball. Lobsters dancing in a row, shuffle off to Buffalo. A jellyfish sway to and fro at the Codfish Ball. Finn and Hattie leads the eel through an Irish reel. The catfish is a dancing man, but he can like a sardine can. Tunas trucking left and right, minnows mooching, what a night. There won't be a hook in sight at the Codfish Ball. Finn and Hattie leads the eel through an Irish reel. The catfish is a dancing man, but he can like a sardine can. Tunas trucking left and right, minnows mooching, what a night. There won't be a hook in sight at the Codfish Ball. Tom LUER on the clarinet. Woo. Oh, The Wizard of Oz.
When a man's an empty kettle, he should be on his mettle, and yet I'm torn apart. Just because I'm presuming that I could be kinda human if I only had a heart. I'd be tender.
Do you recognize that voice? That's my dad singing If I Only Had a Heart. So when news of the big budget film, The Wizard of Oz, came on the MGM lot, Shirley Temple had already been replaced by Judy Garland because Judy had just an amazing voice. And then the parts went to the cast players. And at one point, they didn't know who was going to be cast as the Tin Man or the Scarecrow. Arthur Freed, who was L.B. Mayer's right-hand man, came up to my dad and unofficially said, "Hey, kid, we had a meeting. You're going to be the Scarecrow." He went, "Scarecrow? Wow, that's amazing." So he started, practicing that, what he was going to do as the Scarecrow. And then Ray Bolger came onto the set like 2 days later. And his agent, I think, was William Morris, right? And so clearly, he was going to be the part of the Scarecrow, because he actually did have a rubber knee dance that he was doing in New York City, because they were all vaudevillians from the East Coast, so they all knew each other, and Dad said, yeah, he's going to be better at that than I am. So they gave Dad the role of the Tin Man. Now, the original costume for the Tin Man was made out of real metal stovepipe. Real metal stovepipe, like kind of jagged edges, where the joints would meet. Now, any false step, and this could cause some irreparable damage to a human being, which means that maybe I wouldn't be here, and you guys would be doing something else tonight. So my dad danced in the outfit, and he screamed, and the director said, "Get him out of there, this part doesn't call for a soprano." So they turned it into cardboard. So that's what they made the costume out of, but the makeup was a different story.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Behind the scenes in Movieland. Here's the Wizard of Oz set. And who is this? Ray Bolger, who will play the Straw Man. Bert Lauer, who is to be the Cowardly Lion. And Buddy Ebsen, the Tin Man. And do these comedians love kids? Wonder who had a better time, the youngsters or the actors? Here's something for this young lady to remember. Not yet 5, and she danced with Buddy.
So I'll let Dad tell the story of.
They had never made a tin suit before. They'd never made up anybody as a tin man. What they used for makeup was aluminum dust. And first they put on the grease paint that would hold the aluminum dust and powdered my face with aluminum dust. Well, it creates a cloud of aluminum dust in the air, and you're going to breathe some of that stuff. And you're going to powder you maybe a dozen times a day. And at the end of 10 days, I had breathed so much of it, my lungs were coated interiorly, and it choked off the oxygen. You start to cramp up. And I cramped so that I felt my muscles in my chest would prohibit my breathing. And I yelled for help. They took me to the hospital, and I spent 6 weeks there under an oxygen tent.
Amazing story, right? The doctors said that my dad had a complete breakdown of his nervous system because he could not get oxygen to his bloodstream. And he did spend a good 6 weeks just getting better. And when he came back to work, he'd been recast, of course, by Jack Haley. And then he felt that maybe they didn't believe he was that sick, that maybe he was upset about the switching of the parts or whatever it was. But the studio spin on that whole episode was that he was allergic to the makeup, not that he was so sick. So they kind of put him in a bunch of B movies, and he felt he was being punished a little bit. But by the end of his contract, L.B. Mayer came up to him and actually said, "We want to renew your contract." Sit down, buddy. We're going to renew the contract. We're going to pay you a whole bunch of money. But he said, the studio is going to have to own you. And Dad looked at him and said, "I'll tell you what kind of fool I am, Mr. Mayor. Nobody owns me." Here's a song he would have sung had he kept the role of the Scarecrow. Consulting with the rain, and my head I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching. If I only had a brain, I'd unravel any riddle for any individual in trouble or in pain. With the thoughts I'd be thinking I could be another Lincoln if I only had a brain. Oh, I could tell you why the ocean's near the shore. I could think of things that I never thought before, and then I'd say heart all full of pain. I would dance, I'd be merry, life would be a ding-a-dairy if I only had a brain. Oh, if I only had a brain.
just a nothing. My head all full of stuffing, my heart all full of pain. Then perhaps I deserve you and be even worthy of you if I only had a brain. Oh, well, if I only had a brain. If I only had a brain. But if I only had a brain.
Jeff COLELLA and Tom LUER on the saxophone. Wow, so, you know, like we watched that movie 100 times, and my parents never told us that story. It was just too painful for my dad to talk about it. So 5 decades later, when the 50th anniversary of The Wizard of Oz came out, they wanted my dad to help promote it, because he was the only cast member still alive. Actually, it was him and a munchkin. So of course my dad's like, are you kidding, really? But he thought about it, he gave it a good long think and realized it was a way for him to make peace with that part of his life. And also they put all that footage that you saw, the promo footage, all the audio recordings, they made it all public, that he actually was still on the soundtrack. They never took him off the soundtrack. He was just never credited. So now he's credited, people know the story, and you can tell everybody now it wasn't an allergic reaction, it was poison. Anyway, and he lived longer than the rest of them, so hey. But I'm not condoning you go inhale aluminum dust, I'm just saying. He also likes to joke that perhaps they didn't reshoot some of those long shots because, I mean, who can tell? Can you? All right, now I'm getting warm up here. So now, my dad has basically turned his thumb up at L.B. Mayer, and he's broke, and he is back to the theater world, you know, kind of living hand to mouth, making a little bit of money here and there. He's married, has a child, and he finally gets a really nice job on Broadway in a show called Yokel Boy with the Canova family. Oh, and Phil Silvers, you might recognize that name. He later became very well known for his role as Sergeant Bilko. Do you remember that series? Yeah, you'll remember when you see him. He also had a reoccurring role as Shifty John Schaefer in another series my dad did. It was kind of a little-known series called The Beverly Hillbillies.
The Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, you can clap. Now that's the dad I knew. I grew up with the Beverly Hillbillies. Used to go down to the set a lot when we were kids, and you know, we'd kind of follow my dad around while he was getting made up. And there's see, he is a rocker at heart, right? So there's Dad, you know, putting his outfit on. I try to drive the truck. You know, there's me on that truck. It didn't run, didn't even have a motor, but I was an optimist. I was like, oh. My favorite place to be was with the animals. You know, big surprise. But because on any given day, you know, you'd have Duke, old Duke, or young Duke. They were two different dogs, by the way. Just, you have raccoons and goats and chickens and, you know, chimpanzees. And, Benji. Benji was on the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah, he's so sweet. Oh, and the giant jackrabbit. Anybody remember that episode, the kangaroo? So that was the most watched episode in television history. Like 5 million people tuned in to watch the giant jackrabbit. But honestly, my favorite of all the animals was Ellie Mae's cat, Rusty. Now, you might recognize Rusty. He's very famous. His name is Orangey, actually. That's his professional name. And he won an Oscar for portraying Cat in Breakfast at Tiffany's. He was a very seasoned thespian, very serious about his role. And when exploring a role, he was never afraid to dive in deep.
Come on, Rusty, that's the word.
How you can tell your friends you've seen a swimming cat.
That's incredible. I don't know many cats that enjoy water the way Orangey did. But anything for the money, right? And whatever the role. So actually, I digressed a little bit. The year is 1939. That's Phil Silvers, and there's my dad. And this standard that came out of Yokel Boy is called Comes Love. Comes a rainstorm, put your rubbers on your feet. Comes a snowstorm, you can get a little heat. Comes love, nothing can be done. Well, comes a fire, then you know just what to do. Blow a tire, you can buy another shoe. Comes love, nothing can be done. There's no use hiding, 'cause there isn't any use. You'll start sliding when your heart turns on the juice. Comes a headache, you can lose it in a day. Comes a toothache, you'll see a dentist right away. Comes love, nothing can be done. Tom LUER again with yet another instrument. How many? That is talent. You're a doubler, tripler, you're a quadrupler tonight. You are a quadrupler. So now the year is 1942. Dad is in Chicago doing a show with Skeets Gallagher called Goodnight Ladies at the Blackstone Theater. Now the producers of the show wanted them to go down to the corner to another theater where they were experimenting with a new entertainment medium called television. So, yes, those were the early televisions. So what they did, they would film a scene, and then it would travel across the airwaves like a radio, right, into people's homes. And Dad was like, okay, anything for the show. So he goes down and he does a few scenes, and then he looks back on the monitor at it, and it's like awful. And he says, oh, that's terrible. Where are these going? They're going to televisions. There's 37 televisions in Chicago, and then you're going to promote the show. And he goes, this will amount to nothing, absolutely nothing. So he thought it was kind of a bad idea. But at the time, now the U.S. is fully embroiled in World War II. And Dad wants to serve, so he leaves entertainment behind for a while and serves his country in the Coast Guard for 3 years. Thank you very much. On the USS Pocatello. It was there that he met my mother, who was also serving our country, both lieutenants, and they fell in love and got married. And the war ended, and they started their life together. And it's an interesting picture because now my dad, it's post-war. Now post-war television production at this point is now 44,000, all right? Vaudeville, Broadway, that's kind of on the back burner now. Television's where it's at. And Dad is got a new family. He's got his first wife. He's got a couple of kids from that family. So he needs to make money and he needs to get his career back on track. But unfortunately, television doesn't want him. So now, he's with my mom. That's my older sister, Susanna. And it's like what I see in their faces is a very uncertain future for a young couple. Especially since my mom and dad's first child died at 3 weeks. So, and that breaks my heart because, I have an older brother named Christian Ebsen III. So I really take that in, and just think about, that's not what I grew up with. I mean, they really struggled as a family. And then also to try and find work. So my dad has an agent. He's with William Morris, who apparently is the only agent around at the time. So he's representing my dad. And after a year of trying to find them work, can't find him any work. He sits him down and he says, we think you should retire. We think you had a nice little sister-brother act. You had a good career for a while. You're now, it's all passing you by. And Dad said, if I could just get on the Milton Berle show, which was the biggest show at the time. And they said, Milton Berle doesn't want you. So that obviously angered him, saddened him, but it also fired him up. And he left that meeting with just tears in his eyes, but mostly of I am gonna show these guys. I'm just gonna do whatever I can. So he went back to the movies and he did every role he could think of, like soldier, there was a cowboy, and a detective, which served him pretty well later on, I think. Then Liberace, maybe? I don't know, it was a genie, a gypsy of some sort. I never found out what that was for. But he looked good in a Western hat. So that led him to a string of Westerns with Rex Allen as his sidekick for Republic Films. So he did that for several years. And that experience led him to be welcomed into the wonderful world of Disney. And there's Dad with Davy Crockett. He played Georgie Russell, his sidekick. Now, Dad was on television. This was the late 50s, and I was born around that time, and it was, I think the first time I saw my dad probably was the Hillbillies, but we had one of those gigantic television sets. Do you have one of those console TVs? Pretty much took up the whole freaking, this would take up the whole stage. Why did it have to be so big? So my brother and I thought everybody's dad was an actor, because we were 3 and 4. And we only knew him as an actor, so we thought all dads were actors, right? And then I'd ask my friend, I go, your dad's not on TV. No, your dad's not on TV. Oh, wow. Well, what's wrong with you? No, anyway, what we thought is that if we saw him on that TV at Wednesday nights to see the Beverly Hillbillies, he'd be on the TV somewhere else during the day. So my brother and I would sit down, and we'd turn the TV on, and we'd turn the channel until we finally found a show that looked like my dad. And we'd watch it every day, because he wasn't home during the day because he was working. So we did this for a few weeks, and my mother finally goes, what are you guys doing? We're like, we're watching Dad on the TV. She goes, that's Lawrence Welk. We were a little confused.
I love you, Lulu May.
I know you do, and that's just the trouble. It's a mistake you always made, Doc, trying to love a wild thing. You were always lugging home wild things. Once it was a hawk with a broken wing, and another time it was a full-grown wildcat with a broken leg. Remember?
Lulu May, there's something.
You mustn't give your heart to a wild thing. The more you do, the stronger they get, until they're strong enough to run into the woods or fly into a tree, and then to a higher tree, and then to the sky.
Oh, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Have you seen that movie? Yeah. Audrey Hepburn. So if you remember, my dad comes in the middle of the movie because she was actually married to him and left him to go to New York City, met George Peppard. They fell in love. So Dad comes to try and bring her home, and he's so sweet. He's like a little country veterinarian, and he just loves her so much, and she just will not go home with him. And it made me so sad to watch the tears in his eyes. Now, you know, I can understand, you know, a million reasons why a wild thing like Holly Golightly would not find his life interesting, but through the eyes of a child, when she wouldn't get on that bus with him, oh, it just broke my heart. you. Thank you very much. So, you know, I spent a lot of time here in Balboa Island. That's where my family moved us. We were living in in Beverly Hills for a little while, and it was in the early '60s, and it was right around the time of the Cuban crisis. And my dad thought we should move closer to the water because he had a boat. And he thought, well, if we get things all break loose here, we'll just get on the boat and we'll head on out. And I'm like, great idea. And where would I guess we would just go to Catalina and wait it out. Which, okay. Then one day, my parents decided to buy a ranch. And it was a fixer-upper, yeah. It was also in the early 60s, as you can see. I loved it. It was, we had mice and rattlesnakes and a 2-mile driveway, no central heating, we're on a well and a septic. I had my own tractor. I had a horse. And there was the cement pond. We had a real cement pond. Yeah. No, this was not rustic. We did not grow up all like Hollywood. We were, cutting our own wood, fixing our own fences. No, we weren't coddled. Oh yeah, there it is, rattlesnake. Was I kidding? We were all given BB guns. Well, I did graduate to a .22 at one point, but not a great shot. So they took the gun away. Dad's making lunch for us. So anyway, I loved riding. I still love riding. I have a bunch of horses, and I just fell in love with the whole idea of it. Our neighbors actually were Rex Allen, Bob Hope, Ronald Reagan, as well as the movie ranches of 20th Century in Paramount. So we were in this really cool area in the Malibu Mountains, Santa Monica Mountains. And when Ronald Reagan was campaigning for governor in 1966, he invited our family to his ranch, which this ranch was pretty close. It was in the Malibu Mountain areas, not the one in Santa Barbara. So it was kind of close to our ranch as the crow flies. I mean, you could drive there in probably 15 minutes, but my dad wanted to ride horses there, like over the mountain tops with no trails, because he wanted to be like the grand, entrance Western star, And I'm like, great idea, let's do it. So I'm on board. Mother, not so much. She was like, that's how she wanted to show up. She wanted to get dressed up, get her hair done. But she followed suit with my dad. She got the horses ready, and she saddled up with the rest of us. So with my brother and I, my mom, and my dad. So we traveled from my ranch to the Reagan Ranch, which should have taken us maybe an hour, but there was no trail. So my dad gave us wire cutters, a machete, and a screwdriver or something, and we had to undo the cattle fencing, to get over to the ranch. It was a great idea, not well planned. Anyway, so here we go on our way to the Reagan Ranch, and it's taken us now, we're about 2.5 hours into it. My mother is furious, and her aqua-netted hair is sticking straight up, and my brother's he keeps falling off his horse, and I'm like, no, it's a good idea, it's good, we're great, but we are covered in sweat and ticks and branches, and clothes are torn. But we make it to the party, the barbecue at the Reagan Ranch, and we rub elbows with, they greeted us, some nice gentleman took our horses to be fed and watered, and we joined the other guests like Slim Pickens, Rex Allen, and some of my dad's other friends, other Western stars. I might add that they did not ride their horses to the party. Only we did. So, but we had fun. But by the time dusk settled, and my mother realized she was going to have to ride out the way she rode in, well, she walked up to my dad, she took my little brother's hand and said, I'm taking our son and I'm getting a taxi. And she did. And that left Dad and I to get 4 horses home, the long way around, in the dark, in silence. It was a bonding moment. But it was also the first time that I sensed real tension between my parents. And about a year later, when I went to get my dad's guitar, which I love to play, it was a beautiful Junior Martin given to him by Fess Parker, and I reached in the case and I found a bunch of letters. and they weren't from my mother. So I knew I shouldn't read one, so I did. Of course, I'm 12 years old, but I realized that my dad had secrets, and I was to keep that secret quiet so as not to hurt my dad or my mother. So I put the guitar away and put it back in the closet, and I never played it again. Now, unfortunately, it didn't stay a secret for very long. And over the next several years, my parents would start to negotiate the uncoupling that happens in families sometimes when parents just don't get along anymore. But for me, at 12, I was a budding young woman with no one to talk to. And I was scared and fearful and had a lot of confusion and questions in my life. So with not a lot of supervision. So what could go wrong? I just did what, you know, most kids do when I just lost my way a few times, you know? And I went up and down the scale and finally righted myself about a decade later. But I'll tell you what stayed constant for me. The constant in my life was music. Music could take anything, even the most horrible, sad, disgusting situation, and turn it into something really beautiful. So the arts are so important to our mental health, so important. And I was grateful that even though my mother and father were having trouble, that he shared his music with me. And one of the songs that he showed me on the piano at a very early age was a song called the St. Louis Blues. He'd come home and he'd plunk it out for me, you know, and very easy to learn. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then I'd learn it, and then he'd come home at night and I'd play it for him. And I'll always remember that as a very special, one of my very special memories of time spent with my dad. Here's our version.
I hate to see that evening sun go down, 'cause my loving baby has done left this town. If I felt tomorrow just like I feel today, if I feel tomorrow just like I feel today, I'm gonna pack my trunk and make my getaway. Woman with a diamond ring, she pulls my man around by her apron strings. If it wasn't for powder and a store-bought hair, that man of mine, well, he wouldn't go nowhere. gay Kentucky colonel loves his rocker and roll. And I love my man till the day I die. Lord, Lord. KENDALL KAY, Chris Colangelo, Jeff COLELLA on the piano. Yeah. Oh, a family that hoofs together. This was, well, this was a show that my dad did a show with us in high school called An Evening That's Entertainment. And that was our little TV guide spread. And it was kind of his way of introducing us to his world of vaudeville. So we also had these different acts, you know, and I brought my rock band, right? So I have one of those members is here tonight. And I think we tore up one hotel room. That's, you know, yeah. Dad was not happy about that. But we all had to dance and do our little routines. And my brother played the drums and my sister, you know, tapped with my dad. And it was really a great experience. And I loved that he wanted to share that with us. And I would watch him. I mean, he was such a gifted entertainer, you know, not just a television star, but he could make entertainment out of just like anything. He was just so personable. And I was just drawn. I just watched him on stage when he would perform. And one of the songs that he loved to do in the show was his favorite song called Laura. So I'm going to sing it to him from my Father's Day gift to Dad. The face in the misty light, footsteps that you hear down the hall, the laugh that floats on a summer night that you can never quite recall. those eyes, how familiar they seem. She gave your very first kiss to you. That was Laura, but she's only a dream. And you see Laura on a train that is passing through. Those eyes, how familiar they seem. She gave your very first kiss to you. That was Laura, but she's only a dream. But she's only a dream. Thank you. It's Tom LUER again.
Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Janice Rule, Darlene Carr, Victoria Shaw, special guest star William Shatner. Tonight's episode, To Catch a Dead Man.
A Quinn Martin production. Ah, well, I knew that show very well. By this time, I'm in high school, and I'm going down to the set every afternoon just so I could, like, eat at craft services, because it was, that is true. No, it was a show that my dad did that he thought was maybe going to last a year, and then, of course, it lasted 9. Same with the Hillbillies. It just got it one after another. So my entire upbringing, he was on a hit TV show. We were good friends with Lee Merriweather. Just a lovely woman, just so beloved by the crew. And so when my dad told me that I was going to be watching over her 2 young daughters, Kyle and Leslie. They're 10 and 12 years old. He wanted me to take them horseback riding, which I'm like, I got this. Just bring them to the ranch. We'll go riding. And I'm like 15, you know. So I knew that this was a big order. Do not mess with these kids. Don't keep them safe, right? These are Lee Merriweather's daughters. And I'm entrusting you, all right? So I'm like, okay, I got it. So I bring them to the ranch. We saddle up the horses. They already know, as you can see, they can ride, so that's not a problem. So the horse that I'm riding, though, is a little bit, exuberant, shall we say? So I'm trying to, like, kind of stay on this horse who's prancing around. The girls are ready to go. The horse rears up. Now we're standing on an embankment, kind of a little bit, maybe this much bigger than this stage. She rears over backwards down the embankment with me on her. Yeah, oh no, that's what I was thinking as I saw the horse coming over. And for some reason, she didn't roll on top of me, she rolled over me. So I'm thinking, I'm safe, except the reins got caught around my neck. Yeah, so they they like rope burn my neck. And I get to the bottom. And now I grew up with older sisters who said, you get back on that horse. So all I could hear in my head was, show no pain, show no pain. Just stand up. And so I stood up, and they're looking at me like, oh my God, do we have to call 911? I went, no, I'm fine. Just like that, I'm fine. I just need to go look at my neck, which is now like bleeding, you know, it's raw, and we're gonna go riding. They're like, we don't have to go riding. Yes, we do. Get in the car. So that sounds, get in the car. Our barn is a little far away from the house, so we drove up to the house with the girls. I look at my neck, it's all hamburger, but I can do it. I'm okay, I can go for this ride. But I'm shaking and I'm a little bit in shock. And the girls are like now going, oh my God, she's crazy, how do we get home? No cell phones, of course, so they're stuck with me for the whole day. I get in the car and go, girls, I'm fine, we're gonna go riding. Back up my dad's car, which I was driving, no, I was driving a Land Cruiser. I back up into my dad's car, smash the grill. Now the girls are crying. And I'm like, you guys are okay, really? Don't tell your mother, please. Don't tell your mother. And we actually did go riding, and we joke about it. We joke about it now. I think I finally did tell Lee a few years ago, and she goes, what? You did what? Anyway, she's such a dear woman, and she would help us. This is our ranch, just whatever, rescue horses, that I have a little sanctuary there. And she's a good ranch hand. As you can see, hard worker, does what she's told. And the horses really took a shine to her. Ah, so sweet, so sweet. So one of the things that Lee would always ask me when I'd see her was about a piece of music that my dad wrote for a musical called Cabaret Dada, and the song was called Rendezvous. And she'd ask me, and I keep like, oh, I forgot, I'll find it, I'll look for it. I finally found it, and when I had the opportunity to perform it, I invited her up on stage to sing it with me. And it was very, very sweet. So she's not here tonight, so I'm gonna sing it in her honor for Lee Merriweather.
Rendezvous, let's have a rendezvous, somewhere to be with you, somewhere just entre nous. Rendezvous, there we'll hide and block the world outside. There'll just be me and you inside our rendezvous. Rendezvous, where is that secret sanctuary where we two lonely hearts can cling and capture rapture? There we'll hide and block the world outside. There'll just be me and you inside our rendezvous. Rendezvous. sanctuary where we two lonely hearts can cling and capture rapture, rendezvous there every night with you. We'll love the whole night through there in our rendezvous, a rendezvous.
Thank you. Tom, Laura, you're just playing. You are doing so great, so beautiful. I'm so lucky to have this lovely band playing with me. Yeah, you're clapping. Give them love. So in the early 50s, Walt Disney invited my father to a little studio to dance against a grid, where he had a bunch of scientists in another room, and they were like measuring his dance steps and putting it into this like these calculations. And this was the project. It was called Little Man Project. And what this was the precursor to audio animatronics. Audio animatronics is what fuels the characters at Disneyland. The Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean, and if you're old enough, you know this. Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. I remember that. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, in 1994, my father became a Disney legend. But you know, for all of his accomplishments and being a worldwide star, an icon, he was just my dad. He's my dad. And I remember when I was getting ready for a very important piano recital, I know it's hard to imagine, but I used to have terrible stage fright, especially playing classical music. And I was fretting the night before, and I couldn't sleep. My dad saw that, and he took me by the hand, and he took me outside on a summer evening. It was warm, and there was a little breeze. And he said, "Kik, look at the stars." And for a few minutes, we looked at the stars. And he held my hand and he said, "We're all just specks on a speck in the sky. Don't worry, you're gonna be okay." And just like that, I realized I'm just out here on a summer night, hanging out with my dad. And everything was okay. Two lovely eyes at me, they were gleaming. Beautiful And in the end, I became a jazz singer, and my dad became a rock star. And we made beautiful music together. You know, as you get older, you start to lose touch and the family's kind of spread out. My dad had remarried. I didn't see him that much. You know, we were talking. We just, our lives had taken us in different direction. I was traveling the world and I was touring, and time just went by. Like years went by, and then a decade, and then another decade went by. And I saw him at Christmas, I saw him at his birthday every so often, but I just kind of thought he was just gonna live forever. You know, I mean, he was so accomplished. I mean, look, he was a sailor. If you grew up down here, you must have seen the Polynesian Concept sailing around the Newport Harbor. He won the Honolulu Transpac in 1968. And he was crewing it, by the way. Yeah. And he picked up the paintbrush when he's in his 90s, and he also learned how to play the saxophone. So he never stopped learning. And like I said, I just thought he would just live forever. You know? I mean, my dad, when he was asked about how he would like to die, Vanity Fair asked him in an interview, he said, preferably with a stand-in. So he was just always so humorous about it and so filled with life. So even at 95, this was his 95th birthday, right after that, he had a stroke. And I knew that now the time was coming where I wasn't going to be able to see him whenever I wanted. And that I still had things I needed to say and connections to be made, and I don't know, I just felt like there was more we could have between us than just a birthday or a Christmas. So I went to his home, and his wife was great about letting me just kind of hang out with him, and my dad had a stroke, so he wasn't able to say anything, but his eyes, those blue eyes, were still so intense, and I just held his hand and I just sat there. It was super awkward, but really beautiful. And then one day, I was sitting with him and my heart was pounding and I didn't know what to say, so I finally just went, thank you. I said, thank you for my beautiful life, one filled with the arts and nature and challenges, and you gave me space and you believed in me even though I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for my beautiful life. And his eyes beamed. He started to tear up. I knew he heard me and I knew he felt it, and I felt him, and this energy came out of him and surrounded the room. It was so warm and loving. And we were truly at peace. And then 3 weeks later, he passed away. And I sat in that room with him that morning, and I felt the same energy come out. Surrounded the room, and it surrounded everybody in it, and it's surrounding everybody here, because wherever I go, he is with me. Just because someone's out of your life doesn't mean they're out of your life. My dad says at the end of his autobiography, of all the things that make up a human spirit, the one that sustains and transcends and overcomes all obstacles is spirit. I thank you, Dad, for your spirit and for my beautiful life.
that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above those chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Oh, I can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't Thank you so much, you guys. Tom LUER, KENDALL KAY, Jeff COLELLA, Chris Colangelo. Thank you. And thank you, Steve, over there, and Tim, and Brian, and Jack. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiki. Don't forget, get your CD on the way out.
Yeah, get your CD, please.
And the autobiography, The Other Side of Oz. For Buddy, you know, you don't get this on TV land.
No, you don't. Such a bargain.
Not even on Bravo.
No, only here at Campus JAX.
That's right. I mean, for a
I should
minute,
be your partner on this.
I kind of feel like I'm like an Ebsen now. Don't, I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, wow. No, it's such an amazing, great story, great show. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was just sucked in for the last hour and 40 minutes. So
Thank you all for
Let's do this again sometime.
Would love it.
Let's hear it again for Kiki and the incredible band. Tom LUER, KENDALL KAY, and Jeff COLELLA.